My business is on track to generate over 300 million in revenue this year. But the thing is, when we first started 10 years ago, things were not so easy. Within the first 12 months of building Physician's Choice, we actually lost over $1 million. And honestly, if I'd known back then what I know today, I would have made way more money, saved myself a ton of time, and most importantly, been much happier along the way. So in this video, I want to do things a little differently. I want to share the 5 lessons I wish I had known and someone had sat down and taught me when I first started. And if you can watch this full video, I guarantee you'll blow up your e-commerce business. So the first lesson I want to teach you is one that I learned after wasting $1 million. Don't pay for lessons that you can learn for free. When I first started Physician's Choice, I came into this business with a lot of confidence, way too much confidence. I'd already built and sold a successful company, so naturally I thought I had a pretty good understanding of how to build another one. But in hindsight, I couldn't have been more wrong. During our first year, we generated around $3 million in revenue, which on paper sounds pretty damn good. The problem was, by the end of that same year, we'd actually lost over $1 million. And at the time, this sucked because it wasn't as if we were sitting around waiting for something to happen. I was working my ass off. We were launching products. We were spending heavily on advertising. We thought we were doing everything right, but the balance sheet and the P&L was showing that we were losing money, more money than I was ever comfortable with losing. I didn't realize this at the time, but the problem was that we were paying a ridiculous amount of money to get data, to learn. Data that we didn't need to be spending money on. Looking back, losing that money forced us to ask a question that we should have asked day one. What do our customers actually want? As soon as we did this, everything changed. We went from losing $1 million to finally making a profit. And the thing is, you don't need to spend millions of dollars to get to the same place I did. This is one of the first questions we ask before making almost any important decision inside the business. We're constantly looking through customer reviews, survey responses, comments, refund requests, forums, social media, literally anywhere our current or potential customers are. If I had access to the tools that we have today when I first started, I genuinely believe I would have saved myself millions of dollars and tons of fucking headaches. Today, you can take thousands of customer reviews, upload them into AI, and understand your customers better in an afternoon than I managed in my first entire year. And it costs a few $100 in AI tools instead. Once you truly understand your customer, building the rest of the business becomes a whole lot easier. And I can sit here now and say that losing that money fucking sucked, but it actually taught me a much deeper lesson that I only realized years later. For lesson 2, I want to tell you that the best time to build something is before you desperately need it. So let's get back to the first year of Physician's Choice. We just made $3 million in revenue, but we had lost $1 million to get it. Fast forward a couple years, and we started slowly making some progress, and we actually started to make a lot of money. But even though we had made more money, we still had a lot of problems in the business that we were trying to solve for. And one of the biggest was finance. Shocker, right? We lost $1 million. Money was constantly floating around the business, and we never really had a clear picture of what was actually going on. So naturally, I thought, I knew what the solution was. We needed to hire a bookkeeper. And that's exactly what we did. So we've got, Mary, Joe, Susan in the business, and she's trying to run all our numbers and put our books together, but she can't even figure out how to open Slack. And then I'm sitting here and I realize things are not getting better. They're probably getting worse. So I'm talking to one of my friends that's a CFO of a multi-billion-dollar company, and I'm telling him about my problem. So I'm on the phone, I'm like, man, dude, I need a bookkeeper. I don't know what's going on here. We're doing 20 million in sales. Like, I have no idea what's happening. And I'll never forget, Dylan stops me and he says, dude, what is this bookkeeper word you're using? You don't need a fucking bookkeeper. You got a 30 million a year company. You need to hire a fucking VP of finance. And at the time, I didn't even realize there was a difference in these two roles. And that's when something clicked for me. The problem was never that we didn't have somebody balancing the books. The problem was that I didn't even know what I was building for or what I was looking for. And that's because I'd been ignoring the things that mattered for way too long. And eventually that caught up to me. After that conversation, I realized I didn't have a clue of what the fuck I was doing. Sure, I'd sold a company before, but what we were actually building with Physician's Choice was completely different. It was way bigger. The challenges we were facing weren't the same as a company doing a few million a year. These were huge decisions that had huge consequences, carried huge risks if I made a wrong call. Now, the reason I'm telling you this isn't because I think you need to go hire a CFO or a VP of finance tomorrow. It's because I guarantee you there's something in your business right now you already know needs fixing. And even worse, there are problems that you've told yourself that you're going to get around to. Maybe it's hiring, maybe it's operations, or it's customer service, or it's your systems. Whatever it is, I need to tell you something. You're probably not going to get around to fixing these problems. You're never gonna find the time. You'll start, but the problem is it usually comes when the business is already under way too much pressure. And when that happens, you rush things, you make the wrong decisions, you put yourself further behind. And what I've learned over the last 10 years is that founders who move the fastest aren't necessarily the smartest. They're just the quickest at identifying problems and doing something about them. If you know what the bottleneck is, don't keep hoping it'll magically fix itself. Either build the system to solve it or find somebody who's better than you are to solve it for you. And this is actually a bigger problem than you think. It's a problem that costs me something way more valuable than money. It costs me something that I will never get back, which is time. And that's when I realized this next lesson. You're a business owner, not an employee. I want to take you back to a moment in my life that honestly feel pretty uncomfortable talking about. It was around 2019, and around this time my wife went into labor with our daughter Penelope. She's lying there in a hospital bed with IVs in her arm, about to give birth, and I am sitting in the room in the corner on my laptop like a degenerate, worrying about bestseller badges on Amazon or some other nascent problem. Looking back, this is one of the biggest regrets of my life. And the worst part isn't that I was doing it, it's the fact that I thought if I stopped, something would go wrong. I thought that's what being a founder was. White knuckle through it. I thought that's what building a successful company actually looked like. But I could not have been more wrong. The problem wasn't that I wasn't working hard enough. The problem that I was building a business that relied on me for absolutely everything. I thought that I was the only person in the world who could do this or could do that. But if we actually pause and take a moment to look at what I was doing, I was trying to fix a nascent problem on Amazon around a bestseller badge. I wasn't saving the business. I wasn't negotiating some life-changing acquisition. It wasn't anything special. It was bullshit. Bullshit that sat between me and a real moment in my life. The worst part is I only realized this years later. I believed that sacrifice was the real strategy. I thought if I just worked harder than everyone else, I'd be the winner. But I'm here to tell you that's not fucking true. If I wanted to build a business that was still gonna be around in 20 years, I couldn't keep building a business like that. I needed to find the right people to join me on that journey. So instead of trying to become better at hiring people myself, I hired someone whose entire job was to build a world-class hiring process. They built systems, they built the interview process, they built the culture, everything that allowed us to continually identify A players like Brock, Paul, Vadim. And the funny thing is, these guys weren't the solution, the hiring process was. Because once we knew how to consistently find the right people, we could keep solving bigger and bigger problems, and we would get better and better people. Looking back now, I realized I'd spent years acting like the hardest working employee in my own company, when really my job as a founder was not to do everything. My job was to build a team that could do it all. When I'm in a meeting, I'm usually the quietest one in the room, and that's the shift you need to make after watching this video. If you're spending your days doing jobs that somebody else could probably do 80 to 90% as well as you could, you're probably thinking and acting like an employee instead of a business owner. Your job isn't to complete every task. Your job is to build a business that doesn't need you to complete every task. Because if you don't, one day you'll look back and realize that you spent your life solving problems that somebody else could have solved for you, while missing moments that nobody could ever give you back. And if you gave me the choice today between another bestseller badge or being there when my wife was giving birth, I'd choose my family every single fucking time. At the time, I thought I had everything figured out. I thought I had my priorities straight. I thought every opportunity deserved my attention. I thought every problem needed my attention. When in reality, building a successful business isn't about saying yes to every opportunity. It's about knowing which opportunities deserve your attention in the first place. And that is key. Which leads me to lesson 4. Choose your opportunities carefully. So one thing I've learned over the last 20 years of business is that opportunities are everywhere. If you scroll on YouTube, X, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, there's always someone talking about a new side hustle, the latest AI tool, or a new way of doing things. And when I was younger, I made a mistake that I know a lot of you guys are making too. I tried chasing every single opportunity that was put in front of me. And this was one of the worst things I could have ever done. Over the past 10 years, the guys I've met who make the most money, who generate the most wealth, aren't the ones chasing every opportunity put in front of them. It's the ones who are very specific about where they allocate both their time and their money. Let me give you an example. When TikTok first started, there were a lot of conflicting opinions about it. The app exploded during COVID, and it felt like everyone and their mom was on it. And when I think back to this time, there was 3 different groups of people. One group thought it was just another app, another trend. There was a second group of people who hopped on it, started making content, watching videos, and started using the app for what it was. But they couldn't really figure out how to make money from it. And then finally, there was a third group who did the the exact same thing as the second group, but they spotted something that most didn't. They realized you could sell stuff on there. And I'm talking way before TikTok Shop was even a thing. This group of people was starting brands on TikTok. They would make videos with products, go viral, and sell all of their stock within days. As soon as I saw that, I knew we needed to start taking TikTok much more seriously. Not because I knew it was going to generate over 50 million in additional revenue for our business like it does today. I had absolutely no idea. But what I did know was that consumer behavior was changing. If a random kid can start an ecom brand from his bedroom and make 100K in just a few weeks, there had to be something to it. And that's when we decided to go all in. We started investing in TikTok ads, paying for UGC creators, and overall, we took TikTok much more seriously than we ever had before. And after that, things got even crazier. In 2023, TikTok introduced a new feature called TikTok Shop. And after everything we'd seen in the run up to this, we knew we needed to put our foot on the gas. We started working with groups like Creators Corner to pay for creators to talk about our products. And honestly, we have never looked back. I genuinely believe that TikTok Shop is the future of commerce. And now I know you're probably thinking, why are you telling me all of this? Well, let me explain. I need you to understand, once you find the right opportunity, you'll know deep down if it's something worth pursuing. We started on TikTok, which then led us to TikTok Shop, which then led us to working with thousands of creators. We're planning to invest millions into creators on top of the millions we've already put in. But we didn't get here by taking every opportunity that came our way. We got here by saying no and choosing the right opportunities very carefully. One thing I've realized is that the best opportunities rarely scream at you. The big mistake a lot of founders make is jumping on every single opportunity comes their way. They think that some new AI tool is going to explode their business. They think that switching business models is going to make them way more money, that getting into retail is going to be the easy road. They obsess over the shit that doesn't actually matter. And once they've gone through this process, they realize that the opportunity they should have taken is already gone. It's not an opportunity anymore. So today, before I commit my time, before I commit my team's time, before I commit millions of dollars to something, I'm trying to answer one question. Is this a $100 million opportunity for our business or not? The thing is, I only get to this point by making mistakes. But the biggest mistake I've made taught me the final lesson in this video. Stop delaying your happiness. I told myself that once I'd made the money, I could finally relax. I could finally be happy. I could finally start living the life that I wanted to. But what I didn't realize at the time was that this was ruining my life. When I sold my previous business over 10 years ago, I tried retiring. I went traveling, I started gardening, I started living what I thought was my dream life. And that's when something hit me like a ton of fucking bricks. I realized that I'd been living my life waiting for something to happen instead of being present, instead of being in the moment. I was always thinking about what's next, the next milestone, the next achievement, the next zero in my bank account. But I didn't realize all of the challenges, the setbacks, the failures, they're all part of it. Just because something is uncomfortable doesn't mean it's bad. It's actually good. And do you want to hear the worst part? If you don't have those things as part of your life, you don't grow. You stay exactly where you are. If you're building an e-commerce business and you think that when you hit a certain milestone or a certain amount of money in your account that everything will change, I can assure you it will not. You'll just move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And throughout my life, the more I've obsessed about the outcome of the thing that I'm doing, the more miserable I have become. Now, when I do something, I'm not thinking about how much money it's going to make me or how it'll feel when it's over. I'm doing what I do because I genuinely want to do it. And to me, that's what life is all about. I actually spoke about this in another video. For years, I was obsessed with becoming a millionaire, and don't get me wrong, it worked. But if I knew what I knew today, I could have done it sooner with less stress. But above everything else, I could have been much happier. If you've enjoyed this video, you should go and check that one out. And you can do that by clicking right here.